I can't wait for a year's time, when all of this is a distant memory. And there is a corona baby boom because all the lovers were loving. And there is a rise in small businesses because all the entrepreneurs had a moment of stillness and creativity. And all the children remember nothing but a time when all the mums and dads were at home drawing and playing ball games, and we remember it as the time we all got to stop and be present. We will remember the time our health was our first priority and people learnt new ways to use fresh produce to feed their families. We remember the laughter and fun on TikTok, FaceTiming with our friends and family each day, date nights in the house, and home PE workouts with Joe Wicks. A time our real heroes in the NHS urged us to stay at home for the greater good, and our country showing their support by turning Wembley and the Angel of the North blue. And we were all forced to think outside the box and dream up new things and reinvent old ways, and for once, even amongst the chaos, there was community. There was a global rise in togetherness, and as the streets were quiet, our homes were bustling with love and laughter. That time is coming soon, just like any other crisis before it. This will all be a distant memory, a thing we soon listen to our children discuss in classrooms, or once was, that we share with our grandchildren. So to you, I know it's unsettling, but focus on the silver lining. We're all in this together, and there is so much beauty to see.
Good morning London, good morning guys, and welcome back to my last stream of this week. This is Friday, of course, and remember I said that I'm going to do daily live stream between Monday to Friday between 11 to 11:30 a.m. I was going to say p.m, but no, yes, a.m. is fine. In fact, probably better in p.m. because it will be a little bit quieter than in the morning, because obviously kids are awake and they're home at the moment. And good morning, everybody. Wow, it's got so many people already. Good morning, David. Good morning, Ian, Kenichi-san, and everybody. Well, and Burana, welcome back again. Yes, excellent. Well, I have a bunch of regulars here now. That is awesome. Yeah, so happy to see you guys. You guys are really keeping this series going, and I always love to talk to you guys, and so it's really good. Hey, good morning, Trevor. So good to see you. So let me just get my usual text on screen first. Remember, I do have a buy me a coffee link, and of course, and also I will have today's topic. So let's bring that up now. Right, and like usual, you kind of get used to my format now. I'm going to still tweaking a little bit over time and see how these things would go and develop in the future. So generally, every live stream I have three things basically. General updates about how I'm doing, how the family or London in general and things like that. And second, we have the topic of discussion for the day. And then we have the Q&A. In fact, you can ask me any question during the entire stream. When I notice any questions that I can answer or relating to what I'm discussing, that I will answer straight away. If not, I will try to bring it back up in the Q&A session. Sounds good? All right. Okay. So let's give you a little bit of update. So this is the second week of lockdown in London, and initially the British government actually said that we're going to have a 3 weeks lockdown. So basically next week should be the last week in theory, but everybody would know that this is not going to be 3 weeks. So I think this lockdown is going to be last a lot longer than 3 weeks, what the government originally told us. So let's see what happened. But anyway, everything's good. So far, touch wood, can't show you any wood, but yeah, my table is wood. So yeah, everybody's well. My kids are okay, and my wife went out to do some grocery shopping yesterday. We spent about an hour and a half, and she did tell me actually. I'm not sure about wherever you are at the moment in. Oops, sorry guys. No. And I got a FaceTime call just now. This is the problem of running into live stream, and so what happened is what she said is the supermarket is actually quite quiet by comparison, which is actually surprising. We have a social distancing now, so if you go to the supermarket, you will see like 2 meters a minimum distance imposed by the staff, so they ask you to queue like, with that distance, with the people in front or behind you, which is actually quite orderly. My wife was saying that there's not a chaos at all. You go into the supermarket, it's quite empty, and there were actually lots and lots of stuff on the shelves. There was no overbuying, bulk buying, and things like that. Everything was there, which is good. I think that we kind of got got away with oh no, not got away, but got over the chaos that we had about three weeks ago when everyone was really scrambling in supermarket, like trying to fight for goods and toilet rolls and stuff like that. So that seems to be good now. Oh, well, you know what? One thing I forgot to bring up, my timer. Okay, and so seems to be okay. And then the only thing she says was she had to wait was to pay, and the till, obviously now they have, like any other retail shops at the moment, they have plastic screen now between the till, the person who manning the till, and the shoppers in front of them. So they got a plastic screen to protect any potential spray from their mouth and things like that, and it's all for protection purposes. And also the queue, obviously it's long, but not many people, like they just all because of the 2 meter self distancing that they have to impose inside the supermarket. But overall, she said it's pretty okay. It's not manic, it's nothing, and it just long. Okay, so that's my update in London, and so far I think we haven't seen anything majors going on. It's just overly quiet, especially where I live at the moment is really like a desert, and there's nobody outside and really quiet everywhere. Occasionally, police cars, sirens going around, but just like normal, but just quiet in general. So that's my update. Hope you guys are doing okay as well. Let me know if you are you're struggling or where you are. I would like to know. Hopefully, if I can, I'll help or have to do a shout out for you guys as well. And so Ian, you got something. I went to Tesco last week, queue it to get in 2 meters apart, but once in, it was quite and quick. Yes, same as what my wife said, Ian. Exactly the same thing. And so she was quite happy actually, because she was worried initially. She didn't know what to expect when she goes to the supermarket, and then but yeah, now she's seen it and it seems to be okay. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. All right, okay, let's go to today's discussion topic. Let me just bring out this thing here. Travel photography, right? I know a lot of you guys, if you are new to photography, many of you would normally start with travel photography simply because this is the one excuse that you would use to pick up your camera and to shoot something, right? That kind of how I got myself started right from the beginning, and if I wasn't a photographer, I wasn't an enthusiast in photography, I wouldn't normally pick up a camera. Most of the people. Good morning, Marcel. And how are you? Majority of people who pick up or buy a camera is usually before they go into a big trip. That is statistically correct. Even people who basically don't even know a single thing about photography, they'll buy a nice camera if they go to like a very exotic places, and just something that they hope they could capture some memory back, and they're always hoping for better quality than just an iPhone or like mobile phone, things like that. So this is how usually got people started. And the reason I want to say about travel photography is not only I came from there initially, and like I mentioned yesterday or the day before, but the fact is, if once you become a photographer, like a travel photographer, no longer just a simple snap, and I'm going to show you some sample pictures that I take, and there are a lot of meanings when I go take some travel photos these days. It's not just a simple snaps. I still do, of course, because I have family. Like when they come out, I just always like to capture some fun memories of them. Not necessarily artistically nice or pleasing. But it's more of a memento, a memory thing. So first of all, let me just bring up a couple of photos to show you guys, and let's see here, and right. Sorry, 1 second. My kids are shouting in the background, so you can probably hear them. Let me just go to there. Oh, no, I got it open already. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of travel photos here. Like, sometimes, I love photos like these. Like whenever I travel with my kids, and I just like some sweet moment of them. and it's always so ever so fun just to watch him grow and everything like that. So it's you shouldn't be discouraged. Like, yeah, when you have a nice camera, you shouldn't really think that, oh, because I now have a nice camera, I should capture something dramatic, really awesome, really award-winning travel photos. No, not necessarily. Like, the whole point of a camera is to capture the moment that you treasure. That's another topic I would talk about later on in the series, and maybe next week or so. Is that photography should be personal. But anyway, so like whenever I go traveling, I would take some shots like these. I just adore, like some family moments, or even just some genuine moments that whatever I was doing. Even I do selfie with my camera, and so it's all good. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Trevor. What did you say here? My first 35mm SLR was MG. Ooh, Pentax MG. That's fancy. It was very in the Navy. Ooh, wow. You must have got some really, really awesome photos, man, when you're in Navy. Did you shoot something on a boat? This would be really cool. And I saw some of the photos that I think Prince Philip, shot in the 60s. It's actually amazing, and that is pretty cool. So I'll show you some other photos that I do, with the family, and something like these is genuinely priceless. Like anything, I always think you guys should not waste your camera, and if you buy it, just take some more photos whenever you go. But the topics today, is more than just snaps. The reason is when you're going to some places, you if you find yourself a little bit bored and you want to challenge yourself a little bit, let me just sit over a little bit so I can see the photo. And if you want to give yourself a challenge, you should actually start taking something slightly more meaningful. When you go traveling, so you usually have an itinerary. You plan your itinerary, where you're going to go, where you're going to see things, what you're going to do. Um, During that process, you could actually research a little bit more, like read up on a little bit of history of the place, and see whether there's anything that can make your shot a little bit more meaningful. And I'll show you a couple of examples in a minute, and because it's something that you could all do when you're going around traveling, especially with a camera. Although I said that many people do buy a nice camera just before they travel, but there is no difference when using an iPhone or anything slightly less superior, because an iPhone is an image capturing machine. There's no wrong, nothing wrong about it. So even this photo, I think, let me just show you this one here. I think I captured it with an iPhone, and then but it's another memory thing. But I just want to kind of find it a little bit artistic. Photography equal memories, indeed. This time 1.7. Okay, Burana, I'm gonna answer your question later. So let's bring you some photo. So let's try to get a photo that I really would like to talk about. And when I was in Cuba. So if I can find that photo, hopefully I can find it somewhere. Right. Okay. Yes, this one here. I can talk about this one. Right, this photo was taken in Cuba, and it was in 2018. Right, when I read about Cuba, of course, if you've been there already, you probably know. But for those who don't, Cuba is developing and just opened up. It's a little bit like the early stages of China. They were a communist. Actually, they are still communist. But there are a lot of changes going on now there. A lot of foreign investment are pouring into the country. So there was a big contrast of new and old, and also rich and poor. So when we went there, one mission I set myself was not only to go to these places that I want to see, but also to capture or document some these changes while I was there. It's gonna be difficult, when you have family and kids and things like that. You're not that you can actually wander around out for like a day just on your own. So it's going to be difficult. But having said that, when you have the camera with you, you should be able to capture something. So this is something I want to urge you guys to do, is to go out, when you go travel, when you do some planning for what you're going to do and what you're going to see, just dig a little bit deeper and see what else you can do with your camera. And so this is always something that I enjoy doing these days. These changes, and also like people's lives in Cubans' life is actually quite interesting. Now this one here that I took is with an old lady sitting in her apartment. There were no glass windows in a lot of the poorer areas, and all they have just an opening. They have wooden shutters, so basically just shut the things like a door. But that's all about it. But the reason I captured her at the time was when I walked over. Not only that she was sitting in her wheelchair right next to the window, which kind of have that like brilliant framing straight away, and the little graffiti on the side of the wall is kind of showing you the impact of change in a younger culture. And but what's more importantly is you can't quite see in a photo this size. She's actually holding a cigar, which what gives away that she's a Cuban, and all of you know that Cuban cigars is famous, and so it's one of their thing. So like this old lady was actually smoking cigar, which is actually quite iconic. This is something I just found it really, really cool. And so that's why I snapped this photo, and she's quite happy for me to take a photo. She just looked up at me and just give me a little smile. That was so cool. And let's see if I can give you another travel photo that was when I was in Cuba. So things like this, and sometimes you pay more attention to the surrounding, and I found things that like Cuba is very colorful, so there are lots of colorful houses, and of course their famous American classic cars. They painted them into bright colors to attract people, because most of them are taxi, so that they like to attract foreign customers and tourists alike. So this is something that I found that is a scene where it's basically all green, and it's got a green kind of turquoise color green house and a green tree and a green car. So I just take a photo of that, just have that color coordination there. And let's see, another photos that I may be able to find you is patterns. Patterns, another thing that you can also apply when you're taking some travel photography. It's almost like street photography in a way, but rather than just having some simple standard shots like this one here, I'm just going to bring up this one as well, so you can see. And so this is kind of like a normal photo, and but so this is what I would call it normally a slightly more generic, more boring photo, and so instead of just snapping a shot like that, I'll try to do something like the car from above, and you can see the pattern on the ground. So this is actually very, I think to me is a better compositions, and it's actually more interesting visually. So that is quite interesting. Sorry about the loud noise, because my kids and my wife are having a FaceTime call with my mum at the moment. So my kids always get so excited when they see my the grandparents, and so now they're speaking really loudly at the moment. Okay, so let me see if I can bring up another photo, and let's see. Right, maybe abstract. I don't know. I mean, you guys like this sort of thing. So I have a photo here as well, which is something like this. I always kind of like to play around with textures in terms of foreground interest. So this is something that would create some sort of contrast to the actual main subject, which is in this case the Brooklyn Bridge. That I always love these to play around something like this, and the brick obviously means something is the old time, which is also coordinated with the bridge itself. So that is all good there. And of course, talking about Brooklyn Bridge, I'm going to show you another picture of this. And of course, this is a classic shot that even Henri Cartier-Bresson has done the same shot in the same street before. Being a tourist sometimes, so that's another thing I need to bring up as well. When you're traveling, not only you are not, you can't plan, the weather and things like that. Those are really out of your control. So you just have to make use of the time when you were there. And that's one downside of being a travel photographer, or when you're traveling, not travel photographer. If you're a professional travel photographer, you will stay there and then trying to plan everything to make sure that you get the right shot at the right time. But when you're traveling just for leisure, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, because you are limited by the time when you're there. Like when I went to Dumbo, in this area in Brooklyn Bridge, I only had probably about 3 hours, and because that's my itinerary, I'm gonna walk around there, and that's it. So I was really struggling with time, and then all I had was possibly at this location probably about 5 minutes. So that's all I had. So all I could do is to stand there and hoping that will be some moments, and then so you can't really say, or beat yourself up, if you can't get a great shot, and I think you shouldn't do that to yourself. Just be mindful, if you don't get anything, don't get disappointed, but just trying to do your best if you can. And even like I'm a professional, I go out, I shoot my clients and everything. I can't even guarantee myself to get great shots every single day. Sometimes you have your down moments, sometimes you have up moments, sometimes the weather is really rubbish, sometimes it's really great. It's a whole combination of factor there. So every time you can't get a shot, don't worry, keep going. Just that's my word. That's my taking. And yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris. So hopefully you enjoy that shot. So that's another shot of New York City, and then that I was taking there. These really famous underground smoke or steam coming out from the pipes. I just find it interesting. Once again, it was just a passing shot that I was doing, and I wasn't really aiming for anything, but I just noticed this smoke coming out, and then and I saw these people crossing. It would make quite a good contrast, and it's also quite iconic for New York City. So that's why I snapped it as well. And there's nothing more than just like a moment shot for me. I kind of like this sort of thing. You might see that I've done quite a few black and white photos here, because I mentioned in the last few videos already, I really enjoy black and white photography. If you're into one, I'm not sure, let me know if you do like black and white photography. Stay tuned for my today's YouTube video. I'm going to put the link down in the description, because I'm reviewing my secret of doing my black and white photos, and it's actually a software that I use, so you have to stay tuned for that. Tune into that video later on today at 12 p.m. So very soon you will see that video. So let's go to another American photos. Right, okay, this is more like a street photography, and I kind of find it quite funny and contrasty. By means of obviously, the American flag just gives it away. This is in Times Square. If you've been there, you probably understand or seen this before. So happened that there are a lot of interesting characters in this photo here. Yes, Chris. Yeah, you like black and white. Cool. So in this photo here, can you see how I've done this photo, or how I framed this photo? First of all, of course, the American flag that takes the center stage, but you see these lines in the middle of the panel itself. There are 4 panels there and 4 lines, or 4 sections. So each sections have something in there. I deliberately time it, but so happened I was lucky for that pigeon that flew right across it, and I captured them right in one of the frames there. So like, I got a bunch of police who were really chatting, very casual, and at the edge of the frame, and then you got one individual or isolated police holding the gun, very serious. So it's a very big contrast between the 2 panels there. Then I have, of course, a tourist holding the shopping bag with her mum, and then the pigeon flew over them, and then finally a tourist with a camera right at the end of the on the right hand side of the frame. So this is something that I kind of find it quite fun to do. I was standing there for a good 15 minutes, and I was thinking, what can I do with this photo? And I was hoping that I could fit in different characters in one of the frames. I was actually hoping for people closer to me, but somehow this one came around and just like, boop. I think I took about 5 frames, and I chose this one was the best one. And oh, hi, Charlie, Kieran. Hi there. How are you guys? Good to see you here. Thanks for joining me. That's good. And so Chris, one of my friends in Hong Kong, are watching with their family. That's cool, with kids. Excellent. My kids actually they're having FaceTime with my mom at the moment. So Barana, see the pigeon? Yeah, you saw the pigeon, right? It's actually pretty cool. I'm supposed to be in Times Square in 2 weeks' time. Isn't going to happen. Oh, I feel for you, man, Trevor. This year I have a lot of plans, and I'm not even really joking, because I have so many things planned already. But looks, yeah, like you, doesn't look like anything is going to happen. Even my personal project might have to be postponed or scrapped. Even the thing is that I already paid some money already, and I might even have to write it off. That's on top of the financial losses that I've got with no job. That's not too good. But I guess that's the reality we have to face and ride through it, and we're all in this together. So just hope that things will get back to normal very, very soon. Okay, and let's bring you another photo that I like. Let's see if I can get something. Right, this one here is another Cuban photo that I have here. It's a very typical Cuban life, and I shot this photo just as a historic moment for me, because you never know, like, next time if I ever go back to Cuba in 10, 15 years time, I don't think I could see this anymore. And frankly, like, this really reminds me the time when I first went to China when I was a young kid, and China used to look like this. It was not like what you see today in movies and things like that, because they have high rises, massive highway and motorways and things like that. But China used to look like this, and so I can kind of see, time change everything. It's good to have some sort of historic photos. To me at least, like Martin Parr once said, it's the things that he took with his camera, and then even like one of his famous shot, he took a photo of a woman filling gas in the gas station in America. It looks like a very, very normal generic snapshot, doesn't even have any artistic value whatsoever. But the thing is, he said that that photo now presents a lot of historic value, simply because that does not happen today. And the things have really moved on quite a bit. Like the gas filling up machine is totally different now. It was back in the day, it was totally analog. It's not digital and all the other things, blah blah blah. But Martin Parr made a really good point. So everything you take today, can be very significant in 20, 30 years time. So don't be afraid to take some photos like these, and then store it around, store it aside, put a special folder saying a history, like something like that. Just categorize them, and that, if you look back in 20, 30 years time, I'm pretty sure you will enjoy them very, very much. Okay, let's see what else in here. Right, that's a funny shot here. I'm gonna do this one here, and right, once again, this is actually a funny shot that I took. It's a travel photography. Simply, once again, this is like a passing shot again, and I was walking with my friends after the wedding, and in Spain, in I think Seville, and I was just walking past, and suddenly I saw these guys all wearing in red, and there are two of them that know each other, but the other two were just completely different group. But somehow they coordinated, and then I just thought, oh, that is awesome. And once again, I'm using this framing tactic that I use, like the New York Times Square American flag shot. Have lines in between, so I separate each of the characters. So I do the same thing again, so you can kind of see my style going now, right? So this is what I did as well. Like, I used the white walls to separate the first guy on the left, and then I have the kind of guy with the pink hair in the second panel, and the other two guys that looks almost like twins and are having red t-shirts and white shorts in the third panels. So this is kind of thing that I always look out for whenever I do travel photography as well. And lastly, let's see if I can get in anything here. Yeah, I think this is probably what I want to show you guys in today's travel photos. Sometimes also, if you are getting a little bit bored, that's why I always say, like, why don't you get a very small macro lens, like the Olympus 30 3.5 macro. It's really tiny, it's really cheap, but it allows you to do something like this. If you get bored of shooting buildings and landscapes and stuff like that, let's do something like this. You can always find something to do with your camera. And even though that this can be taken anywhere, but you've got your lens, if you've got found it bored, you might as well do something completely different and continue to indulge your photography interest, right? Okay, so there you go, Q&A session. Let me answer Burana's question. I think let me just go back up here to see other comments that you guys have left me. Right, let's do this first. Okay, Brianna, you asked. Last time I asked about 17 1.8, 17 2.8 from Ollie, and this time how about 15 1.7 and 14 2.5 from Panasonic? Right. It's no comparison, you know, and I would choose the 1.7 any day. Is a really good lens. The 15 1.7, I've used it, is really good. The 14 2.5 is small. It's a pancake lens, but the 15 1.7 will blow you away in terms of sharpness and quality. It's also like almost like 2 stops faster. So like that will get you some good night photography shot as well. So that would be something you may enjoy doing. Also give you a little bit of flexibility as well. So that's all good. And between 15 and 14, seriously, 1 millimeters difference is not gonna be night and day difference when you look at the photos. So I will get the 15 1.7 for sure. Let's see what travel I got here. Okay, you have a something here. Let me just shrink this down a little bit. And right. So Trevor, you said I bought my EM1 when I went on holiday a few years back. It was yes, it is. Yeah, I wouldn't be lying to you if I said that the Olympus really saved my back. And yeah, before I moved on to Olympus, and I was using big Canon DSLRs. In between, I used Leica, which is smaller, but it's still not exactly that light. But the worry thing about Leica is that it's ultra expensive, and if I carry a bag of Leica body and lenses in it, it's easily worth like a proper car. So like I decided that that's not a viable way for me to go around, even though I have insurance. But that's besides the point. You know, if someone steal your camera bag or someone steal your camera, your memory card will go with it. So like you're gonna lose everything that you take. So it's something that I really do not like to lose. But Olympus is great, you know, and is technologically more advanced than Leica. Is lighter. Is gets same quality picture in my opinion. Of course, you lose some sort of aesthetic in terms of like a larger format, but that's besides the point. Like you see from my photos, I have no problem with taking with EM1 or any of the Olympus cameras, so that's all good. But the size and weight saving from having Micro Four Third compared to my Canon days is significant. When I was going around like China and going to Hong Kong, going to Thailand, all the other places, I sweated every single time I go out just because the amount of gear I'm carrying. Even though I won't overkill myself in terms of like carrying absolute everything, but even if just one body, 3 lenses is enough. That's already like 3-4 kilo in a bag, and the bag itself worth another kilo. So you're talking about 5 kilo, 6 kilo on your shoulder, on your back. Micro Four Third, a kilo, maybe a kilo and a half, done. That is significant. That is something that you should bear in mind. And so that's why I think it's really one of the best platform for travel photography. So Burana, you have another thing here. Let me just read it out. And okay, I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. So before I reported a shoot from Nikon, I got my first Olympus EM10, and I started to take photo, watch it. Oh, thank you. And Rob, Cheng, and Peter. Yes, of course, these guys are really cool. And yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, Peter and Rob are great people. They're very knowledgeable about what they do. And Peter, of course, he's also my colleagues. Olympus visionary. So that's all good. You can hear he's very knowledgeable about Olympus gears and also photography in general. So that's is good. His videos are really interesting. And let's see. Oh, good morning. Hello. Can use as a macro lens. Right. Yes. Well, in fact, like one good thing about my Micro Four Third or any mirrorless lenses are that, or any mirrorless camera in general, not just Micro Four Third, is the ability to shoot close. That's a fact. It's something to do with the optical design and then also the flange distance between the back element of the lens and the sensor itself. Yeah, having a mirrorless camera, having a short flange distance means that you can shoot really close to anything. This is really interesting, and I found that these days I don't use my macro as much as I used to, just because, like you said, I could use my 25 1.2 or the 17 millimeters to shoot close, really close, like 10 or 15 centimeters. I will be able to do kind of like a semi macros, and which is fantastic. But there are times that you may want to get really close to something, and just to give you a different perspective, I'm pretty sure I'm going to try to get my friend, another Olympus ambassador in the UK, Gerard. You know, he's a macro photography, a macro ambassador in Olympus. He will show you some pictures of these bugs, you know, in close up. I try to get him into this live stream maybe in the near future, so you can actually talk to him about or ask him questions about macro photography, because he's a really fun guy. So time's up. Oh, 30 minutes. Wow. Okay. So yes, it's fun. I think Micro Four Thirty is really good, isn't it? You can actually do all kinds of things with just in one lens. You know, sometimes you can do macro, semi-macro, portraits, or anything else. Right. Any other question before I end my stream? And weak depth of field, comparing impressions, and almost blah blah. Yeah, you know, well, okay. This is a misconception. I want to clarify this before I end this video today. I would not say it's weak in depth of field. It's just a very different perspective. It's also because of the crop factor. In fact, we you know, if you read a lot of articles, and also see a lot of YouTube people explaining about depth of field. In fact, the depth of field between large format, medium format, full frame, and micro four third are actually exactly the same. But just because the same frame has been cropped, it just feels that you got less depth of field. You can actually achieve the same thing by compensating yourself by either moving closer or using a longer lens. That's why I always say, you know, if people comparing apples and oranges, you can never do that. If you're comparing a 25 millimeters on a micro four third and compared to 25 millimeters in the full frame, of course you can't say that. You know, it's very different, because the crop is kind of destroying the visual aesthetics or visual effect from the depth of field. That's why you can kind of have that perceptions of weaker depth of field, but in fact it's actually the same thing. Wow. Okay. You guys are going now, right? Okay. But goodbye, Trevor. Goodbye, Brianna. Goodbye, Marcel. And yeah, thank you again for joining me. And hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. And yeah, I'm really so grateful to see you guys joining me once again. And remember, 12 o'clock today, I will have my YouTube episode about my black and white, not just black and white, but photo editing software that I'm reviewing. Not that what I'm using at the moment, but something new. But for black and white conversion, the software that I mentioned and reviewed in this particular video is the one that I used since the beginning of digital photography. So that is a very interesting software. Stay tuned for that video, and then you'll find out exactly what I mean. So I hope you guys all have a good weekend, and I will see you next Monday. And yeah, have a lovely time today, and don't forget to wash your hands, stay safe, stay indoor, and be healthy, be helpful to other people, and be gentle, nice to other people. Love you guys, and I shall see you next Monday. Have a good day. Bye for now.